just want to dedicate this award to a lady who never really got a fair chance. This award is for Florence Ballard. You will never be forgotten. Thank you.
She sang people, booty people, are the luckiest people in the world. We sang a couple of bars of that. And that. Back when I was 11 years old, in 1964, my grandmother knew that I loved to listen to the Supremes on the radio. I had discovered them. This was after my Patty Duke infatuation. I was into Patty Duke for 2 years before the Supremes came along. And when I discovered the Supremes, it was like the angels came down from heaven. I mean, they were the one. So she went out and bought me the Where Did I Love Go album in August 1964 when it was released. And I have been a diehard dinosaur Supreme fan ever since then. And I'll be 69 years old coming up in June. On Chloe's birthday. We share a birthday together, too.
Through the mirror of my mind, time after time, I see reflections of you and me.
I love their innocence. I love their blending, their harmonies. I love the way they started with nothing. You know, they were wearing homemade gowns that their mother sewed together. I mean, before the Motown millions came in, before they started making money, they were pure, innocent friends. They were friends first. I mean, they were close friends from the Brewster Project first, and they loved each other. And I wish I could go back to that time and the innocence then. You know, I've always wanted to do a time machine and go back to that era, that time when they were just best friends, and they just hung out by Smokey Robinson on the corner and harmonized and did their little thing on the stoops. They called, when they were singing on the stoops in Detroit, Michigan, at the Brewster Housing Project, and then when they went to audition for Berry Gordy, the rest is history on that one. And the beauty, they were all beautiful. And the sound, of course, they were unmistakably flawless when their voices melded together. And I wanted to see more of Florence singing solo. That's one thing I did ask her when I met her. So we'll get into that later. But yeah, the sound and the sound of the fury, baby.
You've given me a true love, and every day I thank you, love.
I was right here in San Diego where I was born. I'm a lifelong San Diegan, and it was here. But I mean, I would go up to Los Angeles and see them there, and I've been to Las Vegas to see them there. Thank God I live in San Diego. I was close by. I went to Bay Area and Lake Tahoe to see them too. Wherever they played on the West Coast, I tried to be there. The rest to Rich's story, and back then they were so accessible. I love that about them. I remember the Motown, on the Motown label, it had their phone number. There was an actual phone number to Motown Records. I forgot the digits, but I called it several times. My mother almost killed me because it was long distance. And I connected with somebody too. And they were going to put me on with the Supremes, but they were recording at the time. I could have talked to them on the phone. But, they were so accessible back then. You could waltz backstage and usually meet them. There wasn't all the security that happens now. I mean, like when I went backstage to meet Diana Ross. I mean, I just waltzed back there at Caesar's Palace, you know, la di da, and she was there coming out in her bathrobe. I've got a picture of that too. Yeah, but also it encompasses the whole time. And then I was so proud of them when they came out with civil rights, their civil rights work. They were blamed a lot of times for being too white and not doing more for the cause. And I think that's wrong. I think they did their part, and especially through their music. I love the specials, the CBS, NBC, which are all on YouTube now, thank God. And it was a magical time for any young teenager to discover this new exciting beat, this new sound. And I just gravitated towards the Supremes. Of course, I loved them all. I loved all of the artists. But the Supremes had a special place in my heart. Yeah, without a doubt.
My baby likes and he needs and he'll give.
No, I didn't learn about all that until after Where Did Our Love Go. I didn't know about Meet the Supremes, their first album. Everything came through that first album, and then I started branching out and trying and learning more about their music, and yeah. So and then of course I had to buy 3 copies of every single, to make them go up the charts, right? I'm that kind of fan. I had to have every one of their releases. I'm not proud to say this, but I even shoplifted one because I was broke. I shoplifted the Reflections album in 1960. I went to Thrifty Drugstore, I remember, I'll never forget, and I put it in my notebooks, I was just coming home from school. Yeah. Just putting it from home from school, and I slipped it in my notebooks. That's the only time I did that, because I was poor back then. A lot of times I would have to, we cash bottles. Back then you could cash bottles, get cash. That's how I got my albums, my Supreme album. That's how I got to, and the first time I saw them in 1968 here at the Sports Arena, the tickets were only $5.50, and I was in the third row. Yeah, that was exciting. That was the first real concert that I ever been to. Yeah.
Everybody in this room, thank you for making me feel so welcome. Thank you. One more thing. I just want to dedicate this award to a lady who never really got a fair chance. This award is for Florence Ballard. You will never be forgotten. Thank you.
It exploded. The interest in her exploded. And now everybody wants to know more about her. And, that particular picture of mine, I mean, I call it iconic because it opens, so many people are interested in it, and want to know the backstory about it. And how did I meet her? And what was she like? And, that kind of thing. First of all, I was blessed because Michael Lang, my best friend at the time, who has just taken a lot of professional pictures of Diana Ross and the Supremes in books. They're is legendary, right? And he's done other things since. But he just happened to be with me to go to that show at Magic Mountain in 1975, and at the amusement park. That's where the show was, and he just happened to be there. And this guy he takes great pictures. So yeah, I was blessed to have him there with his expertise to get this great picture. We both look good. I always said, why didn't I make my moves on Florence then? I could have made my moves, and maybe we could have made something happen. She may not have had to go to Tommy Chapman. It could have been me. Remember that old Motown song? It could have been me. She came out to visit Mary. She stayed with Mary. Before the show started, I met Willie, her nephew. We hung out in the parking lot, and we had a good time. We went on some rides, amusement park rides, and before the show started, and it was a lot of time to kill before the show started. We got there really early, so we wandered into the venue itself. I've forgotten the name of the actual venue, but it was in Magic Mountain, the amusement park. And there was Flo out by herself, mind you. Nobody else around her. She was sitting so forlorn and all by herself, but she looked so pretty. And I immediately knew who she was. Of course, I did. And that green paisley, but yeah. So I sashayed right up to her and sat down and introduced myself. And of course, I gushed as we do. Oh, I love you. I've loved you ever since my grandmother bought me the album. Just what I'm telling you right now. And I even coaxed her to sing. I said, "Can we sing People Together?" Oh, that's my wish. And she did. She sang People, who need people, are the luckiest people in the world. We sang a couple of bars of that, and that made I wish I had a video of that, okay? I wish I had a video. But I sat with her for a good 5 minutes, because we were both filling time until the show, right? I don't know why she was probably backstage with Mary and Sherry and Cindy. She wasn't there at that time. It was in and gone.
Oh, and we shall run across the sky.
It was Mary, Sherry, and Cindy. But I guess she just wanted to, get a feel of the venue itself. And she was so beautiful, and she smelled so good. I remember she smelled like gardenia, like a gardenia. That's what I still remember. And I thought to myself, just remember, every time I met a Supreme, I always said, remember exactly this time. Remember this moment that you're never going to get it. You may never get it again.
Florence Ballard, 21, not married, still looking for my baby love.
Your baby love?
Yeah, the old man.
And that was the only time I met Florence. But I met Diana many times. I met Mary a couple of times. But I never met Cindy. I was there at that show. And what happened with that show is that Mary's secretary, Hazel Bethke, back in the day, she arranged for us to go backstage after the show. So I got to hang out with the girls after the show too, and that was exciting. After they sang Love Train and Florence got on stage to sing Love Train with the Supremes, which was exciting. I want to say, at first I was sorry. I felt sorry for her. So I felt sorry for her. I felt bad. But then after that, I felt she had a lot of hope. I felt there was hope in her heart. Like she was hopeful that she was going to go back and everything was going to work out for her. That's the sense I got. That things were, she had some rough patches, with finances and with, other things, record deals.
Former Supreme Florence Ballard really has a knack of doing things in the Supreme manner. After her exit from that well-known trio, she found the special warmth and happiness only newlyweds can know when she married Thomas Chapman. Then she signed a fat contract with ABC Records.
Suing Motown. And all of that. So I think she wanted to really get back on the saddle and get her career back started again.
Ballard, Diana Ross and the Supremes, is now living on welfare in Chicago, getting only a small weekly payment by way of royalty from the 8 golden records she helped to make back in the 1960s.
I felt hope for her within her.
Oh, my baby's coming home.
It was like all the stars aligned for me, for that meeting, for that to happen, for the mere thought that picture survived all these years, because a lot of them didn't. I don't know how I managed to hold on to that, but I knew that someday it was going to be, I would want it, in my photo album. Yeah. So a lot of things had to come together, and I call it God. That's who I call it. And he made everything fall into place that day. And I still feel blessed and honored that it happened that way. I wasn't beating down the door to get to backstage. It just fell into my lap. Makes you cry. It really does. Yes, every Supreme fan's, beautiful dream. It's a dream situation. And when she had her funeral years later, next year actually, that was her last summer. She came out west to the West Coast. He never came back. That was the last time he came back.
People who need people.